What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Barbells and Bangers. When you meet someone and maybe like you hit it off or whatever, like how do you kind of explain to them like how your lifestyle is? You wake up really early, you go to physical therapy, there's obviously limitations that you have and things that you have to work around. How do you kind of explain that to them and how receptive are they to it?
In the past, like I'll paint them a picture like, hey, look, obviously, I'm disabled, but I also do a lot of things like trying to figure out orders. I was trying to, now I'm doing the podcast, the social media stuff. It becomes a lot just on that side, the producing, editing, whatever, getting it out. But on the back end of the working out all the time, trying to do physical therapy, it's a lot for them to take in.
Today, I have a special guest. I have had this guest on before, so I am super, super excited to have him on again. And let's take a look at a clip really quick of our last episode just to recap and give you a little bit of his background.
Right at 17, I just graduated, went and bought a street bike. And dude, I thought I was king ding-a-ling, rule of the roads. So that lasted like 6 weeks roughly. I was coming home one afternoon and it was nice and sunny in one spot until I hit a little patch of rain, nothing uncommon in South Louisiana. So I'm going through and this older guy was coming in the opposite lane. I guess he didn't see me. So he took a left out in front of me to get onto his road. So I slid about 20 or 30 feet, hit the truck. And then whenever I hit the truck, I basically dove over it and hit the ground like if you're diving into a swimming pool. So I shattered the whole, like I had a full face helmet on. I shattered the helmet. I broke 3 of my vertebrae, like they shattered together, puncturing my spinal cord, broke my arm, my pelvis, road rash, the whole 9 yards. But my vertebrae puncturing my spinal cord is what left me with paralysis. So I'm paralyzed from about T4 down, which is like right under my nipple level. Like this feels normal, that feels like super tingly. And initially with that type of injury, doctors are like, with this sort of injury, you don't usually see recovery and people typically live out the rest of their life disabled or, paralyzed. And I was 17. I was like, dude, there's no way you can convince me that I will never be able to walk again. Like I was in so much pain and so much frustration. I was like, no, I'm just not mine.
So as you can see, Sam is quite the inspirational young man. He is just a prime example of relentless optimism, and I'm really excited to kind of dive deeper since we covered, his story and how he got there and all that good stuff. Now we can really dive in a little bit deeper and talk about some other stuff. So I'm really excited for this conversation. He did watch the UFC 291 event last night, the pay-per-view, so I'm excited to go over that, and it's just going to be a fun conversation. So without further ado, I am going to bring on Mr. Sam Primeaux.
Oh, dude, I've been great. Things have been
I see you've been killing it.
I've been trying, bro. I finally figured out, like, I got into a really smooth groove. Therapy, so that's starting to look up really awesome. And trying to get, like, some of the bigger medical, like, tool companies to try to start sponsoring me and stuff. Like that walker, for instance, that Griot. It's like a $20,000 walker. I'm literally just using a demo, so until either insurance gets me one or if they'd like sponsor me and hook me up with some tools like that, I'd be able to freaking like skyrocket therapy, I would think. Because, bro, I only get to use it, an hour and a half a week, but I'm seeing crazy results from that. So if I had something like that for like at home or, whatever, I'd be able to put an hour a day, or whatever I could into it. But that would be awesome. And then this morning and last night, I've been messing with my website a lot lately. I got that bodybuilding show coming up, so those shirts have been moving real well. So I'm like trying to go full nerd mode and learn, okay, where's my website poo? How can I fix it? Because I've always just put that off because I hate messing with the computer. I hate messing with the website. But I'm like, look, if it's going to make me some money, let me at least try to dial it in as best as I can.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say I'm really proud of you and everything that you're doing and just seeing how fast you've grown even just since the last time we talked. It's been pretty cool.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's everyone says, they're like, man, you're growing so fast, you're progressing. To me, I feel like I'm just like doing this, like spinning my wheels in mud. But I guess it's because I'm just, in the day-to-day, I guess, of it.
I can relate. Yeah, I feel that too. Some days I'm like, man, I feel like I'm making no progress. And then somebody will be like, what are you talking about? Like, look what you're doing. I'm like, I don't know. It just it never feels like I'm doing enough. I always feel like I could be doing more.
I was just about to say that it never feels like I'm doing enough. And it's like I could try to work, my 16 hours every day, but I'm still trying to squeeze in, how do I do this or that? Like, dude, okay, so do you know what an NMES thing is? Like where you put the like sticky electrode pads on your muscles and it contracts it. So it's basically like what? Okay, so it's like you could also they also refer to it like as TENS massaging, but you'll get two sticky pads, you put it on either end of the muscle, and it sends an electrical current to do exactly what your muscles normally do. So I've done that in the past, for my abs and my legs, but I found a spot like on my calves to where I could do calf raises. So bro, I got it figured out to where like I'm doing calf raises in the morning while I'm taking a poo, while I'm editing my videos. I'm like trying to multitask as best as I can.
That's amazing. Dude, yeah, I am like the queen of multitasking. People think I'm insane. Like, I'll be cooking breakfast while I'm editing, and then I'll be like doing my captions like while I'm putting my makeup on my videos. It's like I guess I don't have enough time. And I just started a new job like a couple weeks ago. So I've been like adjusting to a new schedule, and it's like it's been crazy. That's probably why I was like running a little behind today.
How's the new job been treating you? Do you like it?
It's good. Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know anything about my background, but I did insurance for 5 years, and then I just decided that I wanted to get out of that. Um, and so now I'm still doing sales, but I'm doing business to business sales, so it's inside sales. And I like it a lot better, and it's like I don't have to deal with the customer service and like all that kind of stuff that gives me
All the
headaches.
heck
So
of
it's
it.
been good.
What kind of products are you selling?
Yeah, so we do basically like lead generation and business development for certain types of companies like IT companies and cleaning companies and stuff like that. So basically like
Nice.
getting them more business. Yeah. So it's fun. So I'm
Heck
helping
yeah.
people make more money. So that's cool.
Heck yeah, and that's a really good tool to learn too. What kind of
Yeah.
insurance did you sell?
I did pretty much everything besides health. So I never touched health insurance. So I was like, that seems like a nightmare. But uh I did home, auto, life, commercial, all that good stuff. So
Nice. Yeah, I did the life insurance with like Primerica a couple years. I mean, this was like 4 or 5 years back. Whenever I was like working at the gym towards the end of it, I started doing that. And although I only sold like one policy and got one person to sign up, and I was like, okay, insurance sales is not my jazz at all. It's just really cool to learn like the financial lingo and stuff behind it.
it is. Yeah, I learned a lot. I feel like I definitely am like way more prepared for like when I buy a house and all that stuff now because I learned all that. So it's good. So I don't and people think when I left that like I'm like mad, like I hate insurance. And like, yeah, I didn't like the job at times for sure. I'm mostly just dealing with like all the customers and like the rates went up and like that kind of stuff was just like all consuming. But I really did get a lot of value out of that experience because I got to know what it's like to run a business because I had my own agency. And so I learned the principles of business through that. And I learned people skills. I learned about all kinds of stuff. So I still, and I look at that's kind of how I look at everything in life is like everything kind of not everything happens for a reason, but everything leads you to your path and everything leads you to where you are. So while you might think like, oh, well, that was kind of a waste of time or that didn't get me anywhere or like relationships, like, oh, that relationship sucked. I wish I never met this person. But if you look at things like that, then it's like, yeah, you're not going to be very happy.
Right. You have to find the gratitude and appreciation, all the little stuff like even especially with relationships, like you said, like for me personally, growing up, I would be like so toxic in our relationship, just act like the other person never existed. But now I'm able to like sit back, reflect and look and see what happened, where maybe I went wrong, where she went wrong, whatever. And it's really nice to say, okay, well, that's that. This is how I can avoid it for next time. And it makes things go a lot smoother. Being able to troubleshoot your love life is not as easy as it sounds, but it's very vital when you figure it out.
Yeah, it is. Well, how has your whole I mean, I'm gonna do a clip in the beginning of this episode just to kind of recap our old episodes. That way we don't have to keep repeating the same stories. But how has your accident and that whole experience changed, your dating life, your social life, all that kind of stuff.
So dating with a disability is like a really weird world to say the least. I've come across some super creepy people. I mean, on the internet it's bad. In person it's not too bad because typically the females that'll come out of their way to come and try to shoot their shot on me is the ones that I'll actually engage with and entertain. Because like, I mean, I could talk shit all day long, but majority of these girls, it's really just for me to get a giggle and to see if I still got it. But the ones that actually come out of their way to approach me, those are the ones that I'm like, okay, so she's been eyeballing it. Let's see what's got. But dating with a disability is so weird because it's not what people think looking from the outside, and they're like, oh, it's just a wheelchair. Like, it could just be a wheelchair for some people. It could be a lot more like mental or mentality issues with other people. For me, it's like my biggest headache is just the financial stability. Like I'm 23, which I don't think is super uncommon for me to be trying to get on my feet with my parents' house or whatever. But I'm like, I want to be in my house right now, have my brand new car in the garage, and then I worry about a wife and kids and all that, because like I'm to the point I think where relationships, to me, if I'm gonna invest my time into someone, I look for that future. Like just like a company, you're not just gonna jump in a company if you don't see what it's gonna do in 5 years, or if you can't guess it. So if I could look at someone in like the way that their traits are, the way they act, and if I could tell, okay, maybe I wouldn't want her to be the mother of my kids, I'm already out. Like, and so looking at it like through that lens, it also has its challenges, because it's like, well, now I'm trying to put predictions and analytics on things I have no experience in. And I'm one of those type where I get super overwhelmed about like an anxiety, I guess, built up about looking at the big picture. Like, why am I not in my new house, or this or that or that? So it's like I'll sit there and spin in the mud instead of like, okay, maybe tuning up my website or running sales or doing this, that, or the next will get the money to get the house and X, Y, and Z. But like I feel like the last relationship I was in really taught me a lot of good things, and one of them was like, be present, like enjoy your now, regardless, because we don't know how long now even lasts. Forever ain't forever, regardless what you're looking at. So I like to enjoy, be present where I'm at now, and I already have my big goals on paper in sight. So it's like, okay, as long as I continuously look at those, work it back, do them step by step, I'm not going to get too overwhelmed and anxious and worked up over the things that aren't really relative problems at the moment.
Yeah. It's really funny you brought that up, because that's kind of one thing that changed with me too. Like whenever I found out I had lupus, because it was definitely a big lifestyle change for me. Like I couldn't have the same social life that I did before, because I got to stay healthy. I got to take care of myself, and I need rest. So when everybody else is like going out having fun, like normal people in their 20s, like I'm at home because I need to relax. I need to rest because I just physically don't have the energy. And that was when I first got sick. And then eventually I kind of got to the point where like I could like go hang out with my friends more and like go get out a little bit more. But at first it was really tough. But then it kind of made me just think like, yeah, I don't really want to just date just to date. Like it just changes your perspective. And I think that in today's society, I think a lot of people don't really have that same mindset. So it's hard to find people that are on board with that and that are actually wanting to take it serious.
Oh yeah, because I mean nowadays, especially like the females, I guess maybe just where I'm at or the age group or the time we're in, but they're just, man, they're homie hoppers, going back and forth from one to another, and I'm weird about that too. Like I'm not cool with the girl that could walk in the room and three of my partners are like, oh, that's the, like if they've been with her, I'm good. I like the girl no one knows about. Like I pop up with her and like, damn. But I don't know. I guess that's just something I've always been like. But nowadays it's like it's so easy for females, especially beautiful ones. Like they have a lot of access. There's a lot of options, and for them, I think some females like to utilize that and kind of use it as leverage. But me, if you ever want to throw that in my face, look, I'm out the race. I'm good. Like. If I got to tighten up, I'm on to the next. But I've also come to the point in a conclusion in my life, like I'm happy with who I am and I'm like content with where my life's going and how it is. So for me to allow someone into my personal space, into my time, cut into the me time, she got to be bad, in a good way.
I feel that. Yeah, it's funny because for a while I was like, I really don't want to date. Like, I don't want to go on dates. I'm like, I just want to meet someone. Like, I just don't want to go on dates. I don't want to do the whole dating. I don't want to participate in this game that everybody else is participating in. Like, I don't know if you've ever been on any dating apps, but it's like, it's an absolute nightmare. I haven't been on them in a while, but like, I know some other people that are on them still. And I'm like, God, oh my God. And I talked about this in my last episode because it just made me laugh. And because my friends that just got married, they actually met on a dating app. So I was like, well, sometimes it works, but for the most part, from what I've heard, it's just like it's an absolute nightmare. And I can't imagine what it's like, for you with all the challenges that you have to face, and also just being a really disciplined person too. Like a lot of people can't handle that.
No, a lot of females in my age group look at me like I am batshit crazy when I tell them that my preference to go work out in the morning is 3 in the morning. They're like, if you wake me up at 3 in the morning, I'm like, what do you mean? Like there was the last one, like I had to tiptoe and be quiet, like getting up out of my own bed. No, not gonna do that. I'm considerate, but like I still have shit to do. Your sleep does not affect my day. You know what I mean? Like but I don't know. It's hard, and especially like you said, like with the dating apps. I haven't tried with the apps, but I know like the socials and stuff. People reaching out to me on socials. I'm like, whoa, where do y'all get this? Like, there was one chick a couple months ago, and this is kind of scary, bro. She was like, she found me, I guess, on a spinal cord injury group on Facebook, and so she messaged me, and at first it was like super like normal casual stuff, and then she was like, what do you think of a devotee? And I googled it, and I was like, I don't think this is what she's talking about. So I was like, I don't think I know what a devotee is. Like, what is that? And it's basically like someone that has a handicap fetish, I guess the way to put it. So I was like, okay, this is already making me uncomfortable. But she proceeded to say that she bought a wheelchair to pretend to be paralyzed because it turned her on. I was like, you're fucking psychotic. Please get help. Like, this is where the conversation ends, and I'm uncomfortable. Like, what?
Wow, I am shook right now. There's no way. Okay, so there's several things wrong with that. The first thing that's wrong with that, obviously, is very off-putting and creepy and just like, what? But also, it's like nobody wants to feel like they're a fetish. Like, that is just the weirdest feeling ever. And like, yeah, it's so bizarre. It's
I could
so,
only
yeah.
imagine, like,
Ugh. It's like I'm good, and that's not the first one to say like the handicap fetish thing. That's the first one to say she went and bought a wheelchair because of it. I'm like, dude, yeah, you got mental problems, but I don't know what it is about wheelchair. I think it's probably like a power thing. I feel like women that like, in that type of situation, it's because they want to have leverage. But like, girl, I know karate. You ain't about to tie me up in my chair. Nah, I mean, I talk a lot of shit, but dude, there's been some times that I've had women forget my chair. Like in my trunk one time, it was a date gone wrong. Like I pissed her off bad, so I dropped her off her car. Like she slammed my door, and then I was like, oh, my wheelchair's in the trunk. So had to, hey grandma, can you pull my wheelchair out the trunk? So that was funny. And then another one, I was like, I dropped her off. I was like going home. I'm like 20 minutes down the road, and I look at, I don't know, I guess a gas station, someone else passing. I was like, oh, my wheelchair's not there. It was in the back seat. So I was like, my legs are in the back seat. Okay. So whenever I got home, I had to fight and figure out how to get the wheelchair from the back seat. But you get that on these big jobs,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, well, and I don't know. I've always wondered kind of like what that's like. So like when you meet someone and maybe like you hit it off or whatever, like how do you kind of explain to them like how your lifestyle is? Because obviously like you live a very different lifestyle than most people. You wake up really early, you go to physical therapy. There's obviously limitations that you have and things that you have to work around. How do you kind of explain that to them, and how receptive are they to it?
I've tried to explain it
in the past, like I'll paint them a picture like, hey, look, obviously, you know, I'm disabled, but I also do a lot of things. Like, I mean, typically by the time I'm even entertaining that side of the conversation, they've kind of already got a pretty good gist of it. Like, you know, a lot of them, they see the work ethic and their social medias and stuff like that. And I'm like not to be that guy, but that's only 5% of it. That's what I'm able to put out and show on top of all this other stuff. So whenever they start to see the behind the scenes, I'm like, wow, this dude's always trying to figure out orders, always trying to, you know, now I'm doing the podcast, the social media stuff. It becomes a lot just on that side, the producing, editing, whatever, getting it out. But on the back end of the working out all the time, trying to do physical therapy, it's a lot for them to take in. But some of them, like the last one, they're like, you know, what if you found the one that would be like stick by your side while you work through this and, you know, overcome these things? And I'm like, it's a fairy tale fantasy, in my opinion. I've seen it happen, and hey, if that's your thing, like, congratulations, I'm happy for you, but I just haven't seen it. And I've stopped looking for it because I feel like the harder I look for that type of love, the harder it is to find. So I'm just like, I'm cool. I had to learn how to love myself and then start to figure out that, because it's a lot to explain to someone, but then whenever you show them, you know, you're the behind the scenes, it's just a night and day type of thing, I guess, night and day difference, especially at such a young age. Because at 23, bro, all my partners are able to just, you know, hop on a street bike, go to the club, cut up, do their thing and whatever. So they have a lot more freedoms. And I think a lot of people get kind of accustomed to that, like being able to be with guys with that lifestyle. And it's like, I'm not willing to sacrifice my training, my therapy, whatever it is for that. You know, I'd rather just wait it out, build me, and whoever comes along, that's cool. But yeah, it's a hard fantasy for me to, I guess, think of it as someone coming in to help play that major role. So, but how has it changed since, like, being diagnosed with lupus? Has that changed your, like, or how do you explain that to a new guy, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I also just like really make sure to not even initiate something with someone who I wouldn't be able to see fitting into my lifestyle, because there's just certain people that, you know, if you like to go out and party every weekend and go to the clubs or whatever, like we're not going to jive, like we're just not.
Right.
And if you don't go to the gym, you know, at least a couple days a week, like that's going to be tough for me because you're just not going to understand why I'm doing it. So that's a big thing for me. And I just started seeing someone recently, and I've dated people since I got diagnosed, but I've definitely not been like wanting anything like that isn't real. Like I don't really have a lot of patience for someone who's not taking me seriously at this point. So it's like I don't know. And like I really, this guy is really, really nice. I really like him. But yeah, like I do still, and he has a chronic illness too. So we kind of have something in common, which I think that helps a lot. And he understands like what I deal with a little bit more. So that's been helpful. But I think, and we have very similar lifestyles too. So like that, all that is
It
great.
kind of meshes together good.
Yeah, it really does. So that's been really, really refreshing and good. But I'm still just like, I always get nervous because I'm like, I have podcasts, I do stuff on social media, and that's always the biggest fear for me too. On top of the fear with like, I have lupus and these are some challenges that I have. Like I can't go sit in the sun for 3 hours because my skin will, break out in rashes, and like I can't do certain things. Like I can't go travel all the time, like because I get too exhausted. Like there's just like certain limitations that I have. It's not anything crazy, but just, there's just little things that are kind of an adjustment. And then just the fact that like I do work out quite a bit and I eat really healthy, I eat clean. So I can't go out and try new restaurants with you all the time, like stuff like that.
Right. The stuff.
Yeah. So then, when I like started doing the social media stuff, which was basically like last year is when I kind of really started hammering it. That's when I really started to just be a little bit more cautious, because I'm like, well, what if this person starts dating me and then, you know, they see somebody comment something, or they, you know, see that a bunch of people liked something, and maybe they don't like all the attention that I'm getting, or whatever it is, and it's only going to get worse as I grow. So that's always the piece that makes me nervous, because I'm like, first of all, I don't want somebody who's going to try to slow me down or try to stop me from doing any of this stuff. And then also, I don't want it to make that person feel insecure or make them feel like, you know, I have all these options, because it's like, no, I don't, you know, I don't talk to anybody. I'm like, I stay at home. Like, you know, if I'm with somebody, I'm with that person and I'm loyal to that person. So it's always hard, you know, dealing with that. And I think that's the main reason that it's been hard for me to even want to date since then, because yeah, it's just some guys really can't handle it, I don't think. Not to sound
Right.
like, you know,
No,
but I don't think
you
they
nailed it
can.
on the head. Like with the insecurities thing, I feel like a lot of people are, and I mean, a lot of people don't even love themselves nowadays. So of course it would make them, you know, feel some sort of way if their picture got 2 likes and their girlfriend's got 2 million or whatever. But yeah, I can only imagine how that would be. I don't know. I feel like dating a content creator is definitely not for the weak, especially because not only of how much, you know, work we're having to put in on the behind the scenes of it, but yeah, like if we play it right, you're kind of a B-list celebrity. I mean, for me, and I hate to be that guy, but I mean, people locally, they'll mess with me and they're like, "Oh, look, Mr. Famous," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And then someone walks in, they're like, "Hey, are you that guy?" And I'm like, "Fuck, yeah." I mean, I'm not famous. It's just a little big, like I live in a very, I guess, small, big town sort of thing. You know, where everybody knows everybody. So it definitely is. It's like I'm not. I don't think I'm anywhere near famous, but it's, you know me, and it's hard to miss me. I guess there's not very many wheelchair people. It's super heavy in the fitness realm as it is, and I mean the few and far in between that you do see, it's like they ain't nowhere near where I live. You know, I've met a couple of really awesome people in wheelchairs around here, and some that are crazy freaking strong and awesome physiques, but yeah, it's not a common occurrence, especially like with the company too. Now that that's starting to grow, they're like, "Oh, are you the inner animal guy?" And I'm like looking down at my inner animal outfit. I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." You know, like, dude, I saw you doing wheelchair pull-ups. I'm like, "Why'd you ask?" Because you know, there's not two of us in here doing pull-ups in a wheelchair.
That's
Uh,
so funny. Yeah, I've even gotten recognized before, and like it totally threw me off, because I was like, "What the heck is going on?" Like people are like, "Oh yeah, I saw your podcast," and I'm like, "What?" I was like,
Like,
"How?"
you talking to me?
Yeah, it's just crazy, like how fast things spread. And then when I had like that Theo Von thing that went viral, like that just made it so much worse. It was
Was it
just
was
like,
it did it blow up a lot, like where you're from, like in your local small town, I
yeah,
guess?
yeah. It was pretty crazy, but it was just funny. And then I think it's like that part of it, but also it's like some people don't understand why we're doing this. Like they use Facebook to post pictures of their family, to post pictures of their dog or their lunch or whatever they're posting, and we're using it more of like a business tool to promote our content and to promote what we're doing. So it's so
Right.
different, and I think a lot of people have a tough time wrapping their brain around it. And then also, like, because I'm doing the MMA stuff, like I watch UFC every weekend. And I mean, like a lot of guys tell me, they're like, I don't really know a lot of girls that watch UFC like that. They're like, I don't I don't understand. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's my passion. That's what I love. And I love fitness. I love MMA. And so, you know, I decided just to go all in on my passions and chase my dreams. But then I knew, like, doing that I was gonna be like, okay, some people are gonna think this is a little crazy.
Well, like, okay, so you mentioned your passion, your dreams. Like, what is your main goal or passion, or what dream are you chasing on the content realm? Like, what makes you really want to push, and what are you trying to build, I guess?
That's a great question. So I have like I have a vision of kind of what I want to do. And what I really like to do is kind of what I'm doing right now. Like I want to do this for a long time, like doing these guest episodes and having conversations with just a bunch of different people who I'm like inspired by, or who I'm just really intrigued by and want to learn more about. Like, I love doing this, and I love talking to people who kind of are on the same frequency as I am, and that are motivated and driven, and just kind of get that message out there. So that's kind of what this is for. This is kind of more of like a passion for me doing this. It's more of like, I just want to share my story, share other people's story to help inspire other people and motivate other people. So that's what this is for. And I don't even care if I ever make a dime off of this. I really don't. I just love doing this. And I think it's just a really unique way to meet people and interact with them on a deeper level that you can't really do in any other way. It's just so cool. So that's one part of it. But then with like the MMA stuff, that kind of is more like what I would see myself doing in long term as like a career. So, interviewing fighters, doing breakdowns of fights, doing analysis, doing commentary. Yeah, that's what I really want to do. So that's the goal with that. And I just started that one a couple months ago. I just started my MMA podcast. So I'm still kind of like working it out and figuring out like the format and how I want to run it. And I'm only, let's see, today will be my 10th episode of that one. So it's still new and I'm still kind of learning, but originally I was doing kind of some breakdowns and stuff on this one. And then I was like, I just need to make this a whole new thing and make it a separate thing, because I think this is what I want to like really put a lot of time, energy, and effort into, to like turn it into my career one day. So yeah, that's kind of my goal. It's kind of, I look at people like Ariel Helwani and some other MMA journalists, or even like Joe Rogan as like commentator, like people like that would be so cool to do what they do. I would love it.
Yeah, that lifestyle does look so epic. And I mean, I don't think I know of many like female fight commentators. So that would be really badass and a good way to like add to the sport. Cause I mean, I don't know how long they've been doing like female MMA, but I feel like it's probably a little bit newer than, the male side. So that'd be an awesome way to kind of grow into it too.
It is. Yeah. And actually, I think it was either last year or this year, Laura Senko, she ended up getting a commentary job for the UFC. So she's the first female to do commentary, like live commentary on the fights. Like, there are other females, like there's Angela Hill has done some like post-fight commentary or pre-fight commentary, but she's the first one that was like, next to whoever was, either John Anik or Michael Bisping or whoever it was doing commentary. She's the first female to do that. So that really, when I saw that happen, I think that's really what kind of inspired me, because she's blonde, she looks kind of like me. Like, hey, I could actually do this. Like, she's doing it, and I think she's either in the late 30s or she's 40, so she's not super young. So like, she's been working at this for a long time, and so that's where I also kind of humbled myself a little bit, and I'm like, I've got a long ways to go until I can get to that level, but one day I do want to get to that level, and I'm just going to put the work in now. I'm going to learn everything I can about the sport. I'm going to talk to as many fighters as I can. I'm going to talk to as many coaches as I can, like just learn and dive in. And really, because like, she's even done professional fights herself. So she fought in Invicta, and I think she did like 3 or 4 fights. So she's got MMA experience. She trains. So that's all stuff that I kind of want to do too. And not only because it would help me, but also just because those are things that I've always wanted to do my whole life. Like train, like take it serious, like really train MMA and really train jiu-jitsu and boxing and all that stuff, and really learn more about the sport. So that's kind of the direction that I want to go, is kind of just following her blueprint a little bit, like putting my own twist on it and do my own thing, but like kind of, it's great to have an example, a role model finally, for a female that is as into MMA as I am, because there's really not a ton of us out there, unfortunately.
Heck yeah. No, y'all like the pioneers of this wave that they're making. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Uh-oh, I
And
think
I
I
could
lost you.
definitely
Oh no, you're back. Okay.
it was kind of like blurred.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna see if no. Oh, back on. Good.
Yep, you're good.
No, I was seeing, yeah, I was seeing if my Wi-Fi was acting up or something, but it's not even connected. Um,
Oh,
but I can completely relate, like with being such a, I guess I'll call it a pioneer in this type of realm. It's like I don't have very many role models to look up to that have done similar things.
yeah.
Starting to like look around and find more though. Like for instance, I was watching Joe Rogan and David Goggins podcast last night for the first time. And like really listening to David speak, I was like, wow, this dude's been going through some shit. This is like, it's awesome to see that how he was able to transpire and like sharpen the, you know, the stones thrown at him and make it into something so awesome. And I feel like I'll definitely be able to do it. Of course, it's going to be way different because of my, you know, predicament and my situation. But I definitely think that that's going to be really cool to become, you know, that symbol of badassness. I don't know, that symbol of mentality. Like I want people to be able to look at my content, look at my brand, look at, you know, think about Inner Animal or Sam Primeaux and think about like the resilience, the power, like the strength that we have within it, you know, and what amazing benefits it can do for our lives and chasing that dream. I think it's gonna be really cool once I learn how to sharpen the words and articulate it right. I don't know. That's kind of why I've been working on like a little book. I want to do like a short ebook type thing. And I used to love writing, but now it's like for me to put all my crazy thoughts on paper, it's like I get lost in them. So I figured my best way to do it is I've literally just been videoing, not videoing, but just recording with this mic. And I'll just record my stuff, transcribe it, and then see, okay, well, is this worth anything? And then kind of go from there and, you know, start to outline my book. And I feel like once the story really picks up some traction and I'll really start breaking those boundaries, you know, at least the preset boundaries, I feel like it could be like the next Forrest Gump. So it's like why not, you know, practice all I can. And it's one thing to practice the workouts, the rehab side of it, but people don't understand you have to also like prepare mentally for this. Like for my vision, if it were to come true overnight and I'm some kind of crazy motivational speaker, or now I'm doing a book writing and all this other stuff. Like that's a lot of stuff. That's mentally taxing. That's a lot of energy to think about, to do all that, to plot it, plan it, make it a bestseller, and then, you know, do it on the content side, do it with everything else. So, but that's what I love about it. Like I love the new challenges that come every day with the business, with the working out, with the therapy. It keeps me on my toes, bro. I mean, it's very seldom that I'm bored unless I'm really trying to just not think about anything and like let me just up the world. But unless I'm doing that, I cannot be bored.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to a lot of stuff that you just said because yeah, it's like well in it makes me so happy to see cuz like when I first had you on and you were starting to do your content, it seemed like you were like trying to figure things out like how do I do this and how do I edit and where do I get these, you know, whatever. And so I'm so happy to see that you're still pushing and you're even pushing harder and you're challenging yourself more because so many people quit so easily. Like they quit so easily. Like the first technological issue or the first whatever issue, they're like, oh, well, this is a waste of time or whatever. And they don't see an immediate gratification too. And then they're just like, oh, well, this is pointless. And it's like, yeah, this is a grind. It is a freaking grind.
Because like I don't think people understand of how much like skill that it really does take to become a successful content creator. Like one, the production, like you don't these movies and stuff you see on TV, do you think they just figured that out like overnight? Like there's a lot of thought behind all that.
Yeah.
And then the marketing behind it to get it across a million screens. It doesn't just accidentally happen unless you have some like random funny, you know, video or whatever. But it's a lot more thought process behind it, you know, to think about, okay, what do I even want to talk about? Who am I even talking to? How do I make it look cool? X, Y, and Z on top of, you know, your daily job or your workouts. It's like, man, it's a lot. But I knew getting into it, it wasn't going to be an overnight, like
success like everyone thinks that these content creators usually are, because I have a
Yeah.
couple a lot like higher up on the ranks than I. So getting to know them and seeing their story and how it like how you said it's a grind, dude. Like I don't know any YouTuber that just blew up. Like even Mr. Beast said, I think he was like he made a 1,000 videos before one of them even really blew up. And he
Yeah.
was like, if people really, expect to become viral off of their first video, they fell on their head. It's like, it yeah, it's dumb luck, sure, if you're able to do it, but it's not consistent, or it's not something you can consistently do and scale. It's you have to learn these practices and practice them. It's just like working out. You have to work out your editing muscle and your film muscle and whatever it is. And especially, it's like a weird demographic. I think it's a weird world we're living in. There's a lot of false things getting promoted, like the false senses that people, will sell to other people, especially like the younger kids. And with motivation wise, it's super hard to connect. Well, some people through the screen, because they're like, oh, he's in a wheelchair. We have nothing to connect with. But I feel like once I start building up that content, they're like, oh, okay, he's just a normal guy. He's just got paralyzed. Okay, cool. And,
Yeah.
to try to help sharpen the mindsets of them, as well as like inspire the other ones that are either in wheelchairs or whatever it may be, whatever mental hurdle or physical hurdle they're going through. So I want to be able to be that like symbol of hope. If I have local, people and friends that look up to me like I'm kind of some kind of hero. I want to teach you guys how to feel like a hero, how to be the hero in your own story. But it's kind of like sometimes I feel like I get like imposter syndrome, I think is what it is, because it's like people want me to promote how to become zero, how to go from zero to hero, but I'm not to the hero in my eyes. Like I'm still have a very long way to go. I'm literally just like breaking the ice, the ice of this stuff. But I don't think it's impossible. I've seen others get, successful in similar areas, so I don't see why I couldn't. But yeah, it's definitely not an overnight thing. And
Oh
I think
no.
if you're not passionate about what you're trying to promote or talk about, then you're gonna fail every time, because like a bunch of likes don't really encourage me, a bunch of views don't encourage me. But I also have to remind myself that not to get discouraged whenever it doesn't instantly blow up, or I didn't catch it at the right time, or you know how it goes. It's like if you put all this effort into editing and planning a video and it does nothing, you're like, what? Was this
I
all a waste
know.
of time?
Oh, I
But
remember when I first started, and there was like some videos I made, and I put so much time into them, and then they just nothing, crickets. And I was like, oh man. So then I had to change my mindset. I had to be like, no, we're not doing this for instant gratification, even though that's what everybody kind of tricks you into thinking that you want. It's like, because when you start making content, people like expect it to go viral right away. So then it's like they're kind of putting that expectation on you too. And then when you don't, then they're like, why are you still doing this? And it's like, well, actually, that's not really how it works. Like, you actually just have to do it consistently over a long period of time and build up your following, build up a fan base. Because you actually, and I've talked about this with other content creators and podcasters, and everybody kind of has come to the consensus that like you really don't want to blow up right away, because you haven't really worked your stuff out. You haven't found your voice. You haven't learned, enough about the editing side or the production side. And so then if you go viral right away, it's kind of hard sometimes to follow it up, because you don't have that system in place, the consistency in place yet. And so then you see it all the time.
And you nailed that one. Like for instance, like I had one TikTok go, I guess viral. I don't know. It just got a lot of views. Got like 1.3 million. And dude, I went from like 800 followers to 24,000 within like a week and a
Oh,
half.
wow.
What? Cool. And now I'm like, at the time I was, just getting a new therapy place, started seeing somebody. So I didn't give a shit about my phone. I was like, look, I'm enjoying life right now, And then so now I get back to my media, like that, platform, and say, oh, crickets. And then I'm really bad for, I guess, breaking community guidelines. Like, bro, on TikTok, they literally freaking shadow ban me
for a video that I posted, like this was a year or two ago. It was me just rolling my wheelchair into a pool. I thought it was hilarious, but they were like, "This is promoting unsafe behavior," and I was like, "What
Oh
even?"
my
So
gosh.
they fucked me for that, and then whenever it blew up overnight, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put my business like link to my website in the account." So they prompted me to make it a business account. I was like, "Okay," I did that, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't want a business account," so I put it back to personal. They hinder your visibility because of that, and it's just like I don't know. I came to the conclusion the other day. It's like if I keep trying to please the apps and find this crazy algorithm wave that people think is gonna, if you stumble on it, you're good to go. Like I really don't give a shit about that. I don't care about the main platforms. I really couldn't care less about them. I'm trying to like find the people that need this type to see this type of things to be inspired to go, go out and try. Like I have a friend, he's in he's I think in Mississippi, but anyway, he's a fresher injury. He's just got his stem cells. He's about to become, start his recovery routine and stuff. And his mom was talking to me, and she was like, "Dude, it's so hard to find stories like you." And like his therapist just kind of want to disregard him and act like this is all mumbo jumbo. And it's like exactly because it's going to take people like me and like him that are going to be these crazy success stories because it's going to take a lot of work. But then we also, or I also have to put it on myself to have the extra work to put it out there because I mean, you're right. If the therapists and the doctors and if all these people don't see any success stories, then yeah, why would they believe that this is anything but hocus pocus? So it's like, okay, not only do I have to figure out how to do it, now I got to figure out how to make them all the doubters see it, I guess. But I don't know. If I get too overwhelmed in that process of it, it gets discouraging. It's like I'm literally just freaking. I'm trying to find the sustainability and the happiness in the process and keep myself kind of reminded and grounded. Like, look, just appreciate what the blows come and goes, but I definitely think it's not impossible. It's gonna be hard. It's getting easier though as the days are going, and as I'm getting older, I think it's also getting easier. But it's just like working out. It's like your mind is a muscle. You have to break it down enough times to rebuild it and come back stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been really cool to see what you're doing, and I'm glad that you're staying consistent. So keep it up, man. Don't give up.
Too.
One day we're gonna look back at this and we'll be like, man, look how far we've come.
Talk about. I look at all my old videos. I'm like, oh, I'm so cringe. But I mean, a lot of them, it was really just like random hype music that I found and put my freaking phone on the side and was doing some pull ups or whatever it was. But now it's like, I don't know, it's kind of the fun side of it. It's like whenever you do put that work in and you make a piece of content that you really enjoy and it really moves you. And then if your viewers and, if the crowd starts getting moved too, then it's like, yeah, cool, kind of figuring this out. It's there's the gratitude, the little instant gratification. But I think I'm my own worst critic, so it's kind of hard for me to find videos that I'm like, whoa, this is awesome because it's all videos of me.
Right. I know. I have the same thing. Like I'll watch a video before I post it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to post this. But those are always the ones that do really well, it seems like. So I'm like, I just post them anyways. I'm like, I'll deal with it later. And
Right.
sometimes, people comment and I'm like, oh, really? Are we going to do this today? But then most of the time it's usually good stuff. So that's been good.
What do you think is like or what's the most annoying thing for you for whenever people and comment?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What did you say?
I was saying like, what's the most annoying thing that haters will come and comment to you that like really irks your nerves?
I think the most annoying thing for me, and not to sound like I'm like complaining, but like I think it's just people that kind of don't understand my whole story sometimes because like they see me talking about MMA or they see me talking about fitness and maybe they don't realize kind of where I started with all this and they don't realize that I came from not only do I have lupus, but I've also dealt with, mental illness. I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with anxiety. I've dealt with ADHD. I've dealt with addiction. Like I've dealt with all kinds of different things too that kind of goes behind it. So then when they see a 30-second clip of me talking about whatever, and then they want to chime in with like whatever their opinion is, or, they want to try to give me advice or something, or like, it's just like sometimes I'm like, dude, you don't even understand like where I'm coming from. Like, you have no idea how I got to this point. So I think that's probably the most frustrating thing.
I can definitely relate to that. Like, I've had a couple people like, oh, it must be nice. And I'm like, bro, you must have not watched the part of the video where it says I did this for 6 years and it still feels like I'm not anywhere. Like, I don't know what's nice about this, but
I know.
And or my favorites whenever people will, come like in my so, oh, dude, I saw your video about stem cells, blah, blah, like this is so awesome. And then ask me 10 questions that could have been answered if you'd watched the whole video. And I'm like, this is why I made the video for y'all to, this is the information.
I know. It happens to me all the time. Or they'll be like, who you got for the fights? And I'm like, dude, I literally did a whole podcast about it.
I literally made a whole channel for this, guys. Like, what do you?
Yeah, like that's why I did it. That's why I do this, so you guys know. I'm like, so I don't have to answer all your messages. Yeah, no, it's so funny. But I'm glad people want to hear my opinion, I guess. So I'm not gonna complain.
Right.
What did you think about the fights last night?
I was just about to ask that, man. I was calling a knockout in the second round, but definitely for the wrong Dustin. Like, I thought Dustin was gonna knock him out, but dude, that kick was crazy. The whole freaking, I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, the whole place was like, oh, I was like, no, dude.
I know. I couldn't. I was speechless.
Yeah, that was like, it was definitely not what I was expecting at all.
No. Well, and I kind of was like, okay, this is an interesting fight because they're both really good fighters and they both have really, really good boxing. So I'm like, okay, well, if they start hitting each other, like, I don't know how long this is going to last. But I wasn't expecting a head kick like that from Justin Gaethje. I was expecting like him to throw like a 10-punch combination maybe or something like that and back him up against the fence and TKO him. Like, that's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting a perfectly placed head kick. That was just insane. And it's crazy because, and some people that aren't fans of Dustin after the fight, they might be like, oh, well, he has a glass chin, or, they might say something like that. And I just want people to know that it does not matter how suspect your chin is or how strong you are, like how tough you are. That kick was placed so perfectly. There's no way anybody would have been able to just eat that. Like, there might be a couple fighters out there that maybe could have eaten it, but at that weight class, I don't know of anybody who would have been able to just eat a kick like that. You know what's crazy about that is that is the same place that Leon Edwards head kicked Kamaru Usman. It was in Salt Lake City. And then there was another head kick. I don't know if you watched the prelims, but there was another head kick earlier in the fight, very similar to that.
Dude, the ran and kneed him in the face? Is that the one you're talking about?
Wait, which one are you talking about? Are you talking about Derek Lewis?
Yeah, bro, that dude ran right out the gate, boom, knee to the head. I was like, oh, damn. They were going crazy that last
I love Derek Lewis.
That dude's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, it's so funny because, like, I've never seen him in that great of shape, and I've never seen him land a knee like that either. Like, it's just hilarious. It was great. And then he took his pants off.
Those are like, what, heavyweights? So I guess in the 200 neighborhood are heavier?
Yeah.
So imagine
265 is the heavyweight limit.
265. Imagine a 250-pound man running at you full speed, knee to the face. I'm good. I don't want no smoke on that. I'm cool. You gotta pick your battles.
Yeah. I'm out.
Start getting ready to go head out to do some posing practice.
Well, cool.
That's
yeah,
funny.
appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely let me know and we can start cranking some stuff out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. I am so excited to do this with you again, and keep grinding, man. Keep being an inspiration to everybody. I seriously, it really does wake me up in the morning when I watch one of our clips. Like, It really does. It gets me motivated. So keep doing it because
Get
it's
you
working.
fired up. Heck
Oh, yeah.
I'll keep practicing, keep trying to sharpen the iron, and yeah, definitely. You two keep grinding, dude. To know what I have to do, and then you have a freaking full-time job on top of it, bro. You're fucking killing it. So definitely keep going.
I appreciate it, man. Well, I will talk to you later. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your weekend. And if you need anything, just let me know. I'm here.
Well, alrighty, man. Right back at you.
All right, bet. See ya.